Wow. Okay. We're live. Welcome to another Run Wild with Us Ask Us Anything. I am Lisa Kastner. I am the founder and executive editor of Running Wild and Rise Presses. And I am here with you and typically with some of our additional editors. And we're here. Oh, it looks like, yay! We're here with Ben. Ben!
Good evening.
Good evening. It may just be you and I. I was already given a heads up that I think Peter's exhausted. He's been running around, and I believe Rod is preoccupied. So
Just
it's
us.
it's just us. It's just our brilliance.
Our Christians.
So Margaret says, "Hey, Lisa and Ben." Tejas says, "Hi, hey guys." Is always, always, always fabulous to see you. So I was just starting the diatribe to explain. We're here every Thursday or most Thursdays between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time. And this is folks' opportunity to ask us whatever the heck they want. Anything about writing, publishing, why are we both wearing black t-shirts? I don't know. I don't care. Whatever you want.
Oh,
Yeah. CJ says, "Hey Lisa and Ben." Hey CJ. As always, it is fabulous to see you. I want to apologize in advance. I am jet lagged. I landed in Philadelphia on Monday, and for some reason it just has kicked my butt. It doesn't normally impact me this much, but man, my tushy is dragging. So but I'm doing my best. But Ben, how are you? Or Ben, how are you doing, young man? What is new and exciting in Ben's world?
oh, nothing. Just going right along. We got the semester over with, and now I'm teaching a 15-week course in 3 weeks. So
Of
it's
course, that's how it
it can
works.
be done.
Hmm.
But I'm still working on the breakdown novel.
Oh,
I have
cool!
80 pages to go.
Wow.
which is good. It started off around 400 pages. I think we're down to 295 now, and that'll come
Okay.
down a little bit more
Okay.
because it's full out editing mode at this point.
Yeah, I'm on the last. I think it's 45 pages of a epic fantasy, and it's the second time around. And that this is more of like the what I'd call the cleanup
Yeah,
version, right? Where it's like, well, why are you capitalizing, formal titles in some cases and not in others? Where like you need to decide how you're going to do this. So it's just like it's
conversation, didn't we?
we may have uh yeah. So yeah, like in some cases it's being kept like the Lord, right?
Yeah.
She's capitalizing it as the Lord, capital L. And then in other cases, uh, it's not being capitalized as if it's formal, but yet it's like the Lord Smith Hellington or whatever, right? And it's like, well, that actually should be capitalized, but you're not. And I don't know why you're not. If you are in this other instance, this is illogical. But it's she's doing it consistently in in terms of the inconsistency. So, hey, so it's all good, right? We get through it. So,
There's
uh
and there's no need to capitalize hell when all hell breaks loose.
no. Oh my gosh. Stuff like that just annoys the bejeebers out of me. I'm like, why?
Yeah,
Why are you doing that?
it's tough being
Uh,
us, everybody.
it really is. It really is. CJ says, I'm not jet lagged, but students in the last month of school can be exhausting to deal with. You know what? I completely understand that. I'm actually, so for my day job, I'm leading a let's just say it's a rather significant business transformation, and my lord, are we good at making our own drama. But he just, this is every company I have ever worked with or for, they any kind of implementation like this, you go through this phase where it is just like, I have no idea why, but all of a sudden everyone suddenly decides, well, of course it's this way. Gosh darn it. And you're like, but that doesn't make, why are you doing that? Why are you making yourself upset? Do you even realize you're making yourself upset? I don't think you do, but it's all good. You get through it. So, yeah, that may be adding to my jet lag, but it's like I said, it's all good. You make, you keep things driving forward and you make magic happen. So, and I totally feel you on the teaching like a 15-week class in 5 weeks type of thing, because I have no, somehow I get recruited for that kind of thing all the time, where I'm like, well, you do realize what you're asking me to do is normally done in like, 18 weeks. Oh, that's okay. Can you do it in 2 hours? Uh,
Sure, no problem.
sure, no problem. I'll just give you all my notes and we'll see. We'll see. And I'll let everybody, I'll also give everybody my emails so that if you want to ask me questions after, you can. So I don't know how I don't know, maybe you have some kind of, what are some of your tricks to taking a complex topic and shortening it into fewer weeks than
I ask
needed?
myself, what do I want them to know in 40 years when I meet them on the sidewalk? And I say, what
Hmm.
do you remember from my class? What do I want them to tell me in 40 years?
Oh, that's cool.
And
What?
then build it around that.
Okay.
Because
And what is it for this, in this instance? What do you?
there's an innovation project in this class, so that hopefully they'll take away something from the innovation project.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but it's we talk about all the student learning objectives, so they're covered
Hmm.
to a certain degree.
Okay.
And then the assignments are pretty much the same. It's an intersection between semesters. So between the spring and summer semester, there's 3 weeks, and they can knock out a 3-hour course in 3 weeks if they jump in and hang on.
Wow.
And I can get them through it. I can do it.
Heck yeah.
It wore you out just thinking about it, didn't it?
Sorry.
I got tired listening to you.
I was in a meeting and someone, because I'm in Philadelphia right now, and someone says, so Lisa, how you feeling? Knowing that it's actually, fill in the hour. I'm like, please don't. Well, don't remind me what time it is in Los Angeles right now, because that is not going to assist me in getting through this. So, Taya says, Lisa, would you be able to walk us through an average week of your life? I'll do it if Ben does it.
You the answer there is you can't walk us through because you're never walking.
Oh,
You can run us through, but it would take you 2 weeks to walk us through what you run through in a week.
that's probably accurate. Well, all right. I'll give the synopsized version if Ben gives his synopsized version of his typical week. How's that?
Okay.
All right. Okay, so my typical week, I'm gonna do this more in themes, otherwise you're gonna be bored out of your damn mind. But so typically I actually get up around 4:15, something like that in the morning. I do strength training and then I walk for anywhere from 2 to 3 miles. I then and along the way, I'm checking my work email. I'm checking my personal email. I'm checking for anything that folks need. I usually spend like an hour or so just working on it could be anything from editing something to following up on different deals that we have in play to responding to drama. Like for some reason this has been the week of every once in a while uh book independent bookstores, they uh, assume that we're not with a major distributor. So what happens is when an author or their publicist goes to like set up a book tour, the independent bookseller will say, "Well, we can't get your book because they're not with, let's say, Ingram Spark or Ingram, right? Ingram's one of the top distributors." And what's really happened is they just never bothered to look up the ISBN. So the ISBN is basically that barcode number for your book. They never bothered to look that up to find out who's the distributor so that they could see where you know, what books they can pick up. Or they don't haven't even actually bothered to see if it can be pre-ordered, or if it's when they go to order it, they'll just see that it can be pre-ordered, but maybe it doesn't have, like a big back catalog of books in the warehouse, and they'll say, "Oh my God, it's just we can't order this." And then so then that means the rest of my week is spent basically having to educate the publicist as well as the independent bookseller on, well, how does printing work nowadays? How does it work to order the books? Who do they actually have to contact and so on? Work all that out, and then usually after that it's pretty good. But usually I'm spending an hour or two putting out some kind of fire. Then I spend around anywhere from 8 to 10 hours a day working on believe it or not, I have a day job. But usually 8 to 10 hours working at my day job. Then after that, I get back online and what I personally set goals. So like I'll go through a period where I'm actually doing a lot of editing. So like right now I'm editing 2 or 3 novels. And then I'll go through a period where I set myself a deadline to finish writing. It could be a short story, it could be an essay, it could be a novel, whatever. And then so my few hours of time in the evening, it's based on whatever that goal is. So right now, my goal is to finish the epic fantasy that I mentioned, 2 other novels, and then to finish out all the backlog of stories that we have that still need to go through the editing process. And then once that's done, I actually have 2 novels that I have to finish writing, and I have an outline for um, a book series that I need to actually write out the outline for at least one, if not more than one, of the books in the series. So um, it's funny. Someone before asked me, like, don't you ever do anything for fun? Like, honestly, I love doing this. So to me, this is fun. But it's also a heck of a lot of work, as I'm sure Ben can attribute to. So I don't take a whole lot of vacation. I don't really, um, I don't I used to go to the movies a lot. I haven't gone on, I'll go through periods where I'll go take a Saturday and go to see 2 or 3 movies or something like that. But I don't really watch TV very often. I don't, you know, usually my like time off, I'm going to hang out with friends because I like my friends. I like people I care about. So so that's my thematic week, I guess you could say. So Ben, how about you? What does your typical
I got,
week
I
look
got to follow
like?
that.
Yeah.
Let's see. We'll start off. You sleep in way too late because I get up at 2:30, 3 o'clock.
That's true. Yeah, I'm
and,
obviously a
and
slacker.
but that's the quiet writing time. So I'll write till 6 or 7,
Mm,
and then I'll come up and start grading. I'll go to school because mostly all my grading is online because we're struggling to get students back face to face in the classroom.
oh
But
wow.
yeah, still.
Mm,
But uh, I'll come up and I also I teach for Central New Mexico Community College,
mhm.
but I also teach for the University of Maryland Global Campus, which you may see their commercials. Now you know somebody who teaches there. Yeah,
Ooh.
I know, which means
Fancy.
I, I get to jump in there and grade their work, and then go to CNM's work, and then check the other personal email and see what I can delete.
Mm.
So,
Oh, I do that.
and
Yeah.
then that's pretty much the routine
Mm,
all week. It's 5 days worth. But I do in the afternoons. I'll try to edit for at least an hour.
mhm.
I find that an hour's worth of editing gets me about 20 pages.
Oh,
And
wow. That's pretty decent, actually.
well, until I got to this novel, because
Braggart.
I'm yeah, I'm basically well, I'm ghostwriting this novel at this point, but it's coming together. I like it.
Yeah, damn it. Screw with the author one.
It's very well written, at
It
least the
is.
front half, and I'm working my way to the back half.
Wow.
But I also have I think about 5 more collections of my own work to type up
Mm. Mhm.
and submit. So writing and typing and editing and grading and email responses, that fills the day 5 days a week.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah. Oh, and I'm on a board of advisors for Drexel University's College of Arts and Sciences, which is why I'm in Philadelphia actually, because we had an advisory board meeting, and we're gonna make a major announcement with Drexel's Master of Fine Arts of creative writing program, and that announcement comes out on the 8th of this month, so this time next week, or wait, oh, less than that. So Wednesday of next week. I'm like, that's the today's the second, so that would be the yeah. Anyway, um, and then I will be back on in June. This time in June, actually not this time in June. June 11th to the 14th. No, June 11th to the 15th, because I am going to be the keynote speaker for the College of Arts and Sciences graduation. And believe it or not, I'm sure you would believe it. I already had to submit my commencement speech, and they said, "Don't worry, you'll be allowed to, you know, edit it or tweak it afterwards and all that." I'm sure the whole reason they asked me to send it so early was because they were terrified, considering all of the riots and so on that's occurring at other universities. I mean, USC's graduation they just canceled it outright, you know. So, but I almost said, "Don't worry, I'm not one of those people who I'm not going to stand there and say you must think the way I think," because I don't believe in that personally. So, I think we all have our own viewpoints, and we have our reasons for it, and my job is not to tell you what to do, but uh which now everyone can riot or ask us anything. Now that I've made that statement, it doesn't mean I don't have views. It doesn't mean I don't have opinions. It means I'm not going to try and force you to believe what I believe. So that's all. Um, Although I am very liberal, just In case you're wondering how my speeches tend to lean, if you haven't seen me speak previously. So, and the fun thing is that they give me sashes that cover all of my degrees. And since I have an MBA and an MFA, this should be pretty colorful. So, and I also speak at conferences a lot. I'm speaking at a lot of conferences in the next all the way through the end of September, and I'm probably actually going to be ramping up a lot more speaking engagements, including book signings, because I have a book coming out. I believe it's October 8th of Family Pack, which was edited by the young man who is to my right, and and I'm actually just now engaging a publicist, so they're going to help me, set up all that. But so my tushy may be all over the place. Long story short, to publicize the book. And if anybody here is watching and you're from the Los Angeles area, or you're one of our authors or both, reach out to me, because honestly, I think it's a blast when we do book signings together. um, and typically the local booksellers enjoy having that representation of multiple authors, at doing one book signing, and then we get to go off at a bar afterwards and act stupid. So, or IHOP. I'm also down for pancakes. So, well, hey, whatever entertains you. So, so hopefully that answered Teha. Hopefully that answered your question.
Week.
For the week. I don't know that we necessarily. What's your weekend look like? I mean, you used to swim, but you don't swim anymore,
I
right?
know. I got to start back up swimming.
Mm-hmm.
The pool was closed for a long time, and I got out of the habit. But now, now I need to go.
Now
I
you
need
need
to
to
go
go.
swim again.
You do. You do. It's a
Yeah,
great
I can fit it
exercise.
in. I can fit it in between writing and grading.
Yeah, why
It's
not?
a slot.
It's like reserved.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I'll
amazing
mark it off my make believe calendar.
it's amazing how you make the time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the important stuff gets done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I feel like actually, especially in the last month or so, my real job has just been called putting out fires. Like the number of emails I get that are like, ah! And in reality, it's like a 2-second fix, you know. It's incredible, but you just go through it, make it happen, and all that.
Last week I was at the New Mexico Ethics in Business Awards.
Oh, fun.
Last Thursday night. That's where I was. Those of you who missed me, or even those of you who didn't, that's where I was.
And
But
and did you win
and
anything? How'd it
the
go?
well, I had 4 students who interviewed the nominees and put together their applications, and they ended up winning. So my students put together the applications for the winners,
Oh, wow.
which goes back to their effort and writing it up to the way those 4 winners, like 4 out of the 6 were from my class. So that was kind of cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah. And of course, the students did it. I just gave them the assignment, but I'm taking full credit.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Sure.
Here's your assignment. Let's go celebrate.
Caroline says, Skip does the swimming thing, Ben. Great exercise. Good for you. Yep, absolutely. Totally agree. It's so and recently I was reached out to about um someone who had published a couple of novels several years ago, and she's now looking into potentially getting it. She wants to find out about how can she get it licensed, right? So like basically optioned for TV or film and all that. So um actually all of an hour before this, I was on a call with her, kind of walking her through like how does it work in today's world, and you know, what's the likelihood that it could happen, and all that. So that was kind of neat. It's a question that I get every couple months. So um and I mean, I guess, I mean, if anyone's interested, I can tell you about how it works in today's world and completely break your soul. 'Cause it's not it's not it's not what it used to be.
Well, you only get the question every 3 weeks, so you don't crush so many souls.
Exactly. I mean, because back in the day, I don't know, Ben, if you remember this, I'm going to say like 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, authors used to streaming, pre Netflix, really. Um, what used to happen is authors whose books sold pretty well, and actually even a lot of mid-list, because they were mid-list authors, but they were publishing series, and the series had a very steady fan base. So
Mhm.
their series would get optioned for like $50,000 for like, 2 years, 5 years, something like that. And then it might get optioned again, another 2 to 5 years. Well, now it's such a glut of uh of optioning that happens, um that I want to say a lot of authors, their stories will get optioned for maybe 2 years, and they're lucky if they get $5 to $15,000 for it. And a lot of times, the reason that it's being optioned, it's not for it to actually get made into something, it's to get it off the market. So, an example of that would be, like, let's say if um, Netflix knows that they're about to put out a new series, and um, they heard that there's um, a comic book series or a novel series or what have you, short story series that was doing really well, and it's in the same, it has the same or a similar fan base, um, or a similar storyline. So, like, a super dog that saves the world by, making beef jerky. I have no idea, right? Whatever. So,
Keep talking.
and
I'm taking notes.
oh, sorry,
I've got the
and
first chapter done already.
woohoo! And so they put this, the Netflix is going to put this new comics out, and they heard that there's a similar book about a superhero dog who has a cat sidekick, and they save the world through uh I don't know, through uh snake venom. I don't know, like, obviously I'm just making this up. So and but they realize, like, oh wait, this, if another um company decided to option that, they could put that in the market, and it would basically be direct competition. So what they'll do is they'll go reach out, and they'll find, those that are in the similar house, I guess you could say, right? A similar type of story or similar type of series, and they'll option it intentionally just to take it off the market. And that's why they also don't pay a whole lot for it, because they're not really looking to to do anything with it. So you have to be careful when you're approached by a studio or a director or whomever, to actually license or to have your title picked up. Um, Another thing to be aware of is that a lot of times, it used to be. that the studios and those who were actually optioning the works, they approached you, right? Like you didn't necessarily have to go work for it. But again, now there's such a glut and there are so many stories that have actually done really well, by independent authors or authors from like smaller or mid-sized houses, um, that they're just packaging them, right? They're pulling together the pitch, and then they either are finding an agent specifically to approach the studios, or they may already have the connections, to reach out to the different studios and directors and so on, to see if they would be willing to partner on getting it out to market. So, um, the world is very, very, very different now compared to what it was, you know, 20, 30 years ago. So, I don't know, Ben, what has been your experience?
Yeah, you made me think of the old Blackwater series.
Mm,
Anybody familiar with the Blackwater series? I can't remember the author. It was in the goes back to the 80s.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was you got into them because they were interesting and well written and good stories, but nothing ever happened. It was like a soap opera in a book. And, when is something gonna happen?
Mm,
So you stop reading, but you can see why. Well, it's like catch and kill. We're gonna pay for it and kill it to where something else opens the door for something else,
mhm,
and it's a business practice, and it just alludes back to the business aspects of publishing,
mhm,
or producing,
mhm,
and so it's not a surprise that it's changed, of course, because it's all about the money and so many different venues now. That's probably
mhm.
why it changed, because there's so many outlets that are looking for material. That if you can control it, you can control it.
Yeah, and it used to be perceived that the different venues were completely isolated. Like a TV show couldn't be a movie, couldn't be a book, you know. And now it's the complete opposite, right? The now what they're doing is saying, "Hey, let's make this film, and when we make it, put the film out, we'll in parallel put out a book that is basically it's just a book version of it, right? And then part of that'll be an audiobook, and then then they'll see about potentially selling it to be made into a series, right? So they're just saying, oh, wow, this is a great story, a great brand, that once you actually build the a fan base for it, then the fans will be open to checking it out in across multiple forums. um the trick to it is there may be tons of amazing stories that have that potential. I mean, I know there are, right? And a lot of it really just comes down to what contacts do you have who view this and they're willing to back it to be made into something, into this other form, you know? And are they willing to? Is that company or are those companies willing to invest in it to expand it? So it's just not it's just not the same world that it was back when Ben and I were young and reading Nancy Drew stories and like Sherlock Holmes. So,
Yeah.
mhm, yeah. So, and we do work with that, and we do partner with the Seymour Agency on getting our novels, short stories and novellas, made into uh potentially made into like to be optioned for TV or film, or what have you. And it's because of that understanding, that realization that that potential does exist. So Brittany Bell Connolly says, "Hi, I just signed on. I did my first book report on Nancy Drew. Haha. Honestly, I can't. I'm pretty sure my first book report was either on Nancy Drew or it was on Sherlock Holmes. I'm not sure. Um, But I've read like all the Nancy Drews. I read all the Sherlock Holmes. I read all the um oh my god, like I just went through like I would go through like thematically, I would read like, absolutely every vampire story I could find, right? And then I'd read every mystery I could find. Then I read every detective novel I could find. So,
My first book
Brit-
report was on a book I didn't read, which is not as easy as it sounds.
it doesn't sound easy. So, Brittany says, "Do
You
you
gotta just
remember?"
hope the teacher didn't read it either.
There are quite a few books that I don't really I don't really remember reading, but I knew I read it because either I had a crush on some kid or because one of my pals that I hung out with, read it and said, "Oh, this is so cool," whatever. So,
Yeah, I avoided that by hanging out with people who didn't read.
yeah, because that's how you find stuff, right? You find people who don't read, and then and
You
follow
impress them
suit.
with your ability to do a book report on a book you didn't read. So,
Yeah.
wow, you read that? Oh, yeah.
No. Brittany says, "Do you remember the Boxcar Children series?" I remember the name, but I
Yeah.
I don't think I actually read it. Did you?
No, I didn't.
No.
I do remember the name though. I remember the series,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it might have been behind me. It might have missed my my age brackets.
Maybe. Yeah. It's fun. Like I didn't read comics until I was well past my late teens because when I was a kid growing up, my mother wouldn't allow me to read anything other than I'm like the cheesiest, most boring comics where it didn't even it didn't actually have a story to it. It wasn't even like a vignette. it, it was like an inkling of a thought, right? Like and I was just like, it was, I, so I was never allowed, I wasn't allowed to read Marvel or DC Comics or like anything that's like super popular now. Nothing bloody, nothing that had any kind of, yeah. Which means that again, like as when I was older, I just made up for it and by buying everything I could have find. So, CJ says I was into anything Arthurian or Lord of the Rings. I could see that. I did a lot of Arthurian. I did a lot of Lord of the Rings. I read all the Lord of the Rings again because I had a crush on. I don't even remember who the kid was. I just remember that the kid was into Lord of the Rings and he did a lot of like board games, like role playing.
Yeah.
That kind of, yeah. So, which I never actually got into um because I just I more so enjoyed hiding in a corner somewhere and just diving into a story versus having to play with someone else or multiple people and try and navigate all that. So, anyway, Margaret says, read Steamy Jacqueline Susan, The Love Machine in seventh grade. Ooh, The Love Machine. Now that's dramatic. I never got into
What do you go with
romances.
that? Margaret, what do we do with that?
What do we do with that? I don't know.
How did it end?
How did we find ourselves here at the Love Machine? Now you're gonna have to tell us what it was about, right?
Yeah, I'm sure we can find it.
I'm sure. Valley of the Dolls. Oh, that's a whole nother. So I'm assuming you watched like uh soap operas because Valley of the Dolls screams soap opera. which that's another one I like. Soap operas I couldn't get through because the acting was so challenging that like as the actors were saying their title, their their lines, I was re-saying it in my head. Like, no, you shouldn't say it this way. You should say it this way.
We would get home in time to watch Dark Shadows. Remember Dark Shadows?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, with Jarvis
Wow.
Collins.
Wow. All right.
But we
That's
weren't
impressive.
supposed to, but we turned it on
Okay.
because we were unsupervised when we got home.
Well, who was supervised when they got home? Like, no.
Yeah.
You had to get home, you had to get whatever your snack was, which was something that you weren't supposed to have. And then you got to sneak in.
Collins, of course.
Of course. Of course. And then you had to sneak in some kind of something that you weren't supposed to watch. So CJ says, I had to hide VC Andrews from mom and teachers. This sounds like you got caught, though.
Yeah. Like a much deeper story here, CJ.
It does. Margaret says, Barnaby Jones and Quentin. Barnaby, I remember Barnaby Jones. I don't remember Quentin as well, but I do remember Barnaby Jones. This sounds like we all kind of.
Collins in Dark Shadows. Quentin Collins was there. He was like
Oh,
Barnabas Collins' nephew or something.
or whatever.
Yeah, there was some connection there.
Yeah, that.
You
and
know, they're
Fox
immortal.
Apple
They're
Juice.
bound to be related.
Absolutely, as they should be,
You should be.
in some illicit way, of course.
Yeah.
Mhm. With your little box of apple juice and peanut butter something.
Crumb cakes.
Crumb cake. Oh, excuse me, crumb cakes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that is so funny. Wow, we've already managed to blather on for almost like 42 minutes. So if anybody is watching this and you're like, who the hell are these people and what are they talking about? So
16 viewers. I don't think we've ever had 16 viewers.
we've had 20. It didn't last
Have
very
we?
long. Yeah. It didn't last very.
Zap.
They were like, "Oh my god, these people, make them shut up." But if you are watching, and actually if you're either watching this live or if you're watching the recording, because this is actually available on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or X, Instagram, and on YouTube. This is Run Wild with Us, Ask Us Anything, and it is on Thursdays between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time. And you get to ask us whatever the heck you want. And in case you're like, who the hell are you and why do I care? We are actually basically the editors of Running Wild and Rise presses, or at least a couple of them. And we do everything from acquisition to the actual line editing to the structural editing to the functional editing. We've been around since 2016. We've won a bunch of awards. We've had books named anything from among the best of the year to by Kirkus to the best of the month by Bustle to I mean all kinds of stuff. And we publish typically cross genre, or if it's genre stories, they're written by typically people of color or those from other underrepresented groups. And we make ourselves available so we can talk to you about, it could be anything from the craft of writing to storytelling to the not just the art of writing, but the business. Sorry. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and we're happy to give you our own version of misinformation. We don't do that. I'm just kidding. We don't do that. But we're here to help you. That's basically it. Caroline says, "Yikes! I give away my age. Never read Nancy Drew, horror detective. Read, hold on. Read Oracle. Wait, read all of Charles Dickens,
Yeah,
Pickwick
it jumped up
Papers.
on you. It almost disappeared.
It really did. Of Human, Bondage, etc. All of Norman Mailer. What? That just means you're 20. It's fine. Um, Elizabeth DeVecchi says Nancy Drew is the boss. Nancy Drew is pretty cool. Caroline Shannon Davenport says Edith Wharton. Edith Wharton, anyone? Yes, I am familiar with Edith Wharton. Brittany says, oh, I have a question. I finally wrote my query letter. Yay! I think it was harder than writing the book. In any event, I'm ready to submit. Do you know approximately the current timeline for reviewing longer submissions? I know the revising and production timeline. For reviewing, you mean for us? Um, right now we are on, like, we're accepting submissions, but we haven't been reviewing them officially for actual acquisition. I'd say it's been like 8 months, something like that. We are actually anticipating that we're gonna do another acquisition review like July, August of this year. Our target is that we want to finish minimally assigning all of the stories that we've already acquired to editors so that we know that, you know, our backlog's covered, everybody has someone they're working with, and so on. So we actually, so in 2022 and 2023, we acquired a lot of stories. I mean, this year we're publishing like 42, and next year we're going to be publishing about the same. That's a lot of stories. And so we have actually formally decided amongst us chickens, us acquisition editor chickens, that moving forward we were only going to publish like 10 full-length pieces per house. So 10 for Running Wild and 10 for Rise. Excuse me. So that means we're going to be turning down a whole lot more pieces than what we have turned down in the past. So the reason I'm giving you all that is because even once we sit down and do an acquisition session, again, I'm going to bet that we're probably looking at like July, August of this year. There's going to be a lot that are going to get rejected. And let me see. I'm just pulling up how many we have right now in our backlog. Let's see. The one thing that you can bank on, to be honest, is our short story and our novella anthologies. Those we do our best to publish them every year. Unfortunately, again, just because we do get so backlogged, sometimes it doesn't happen. But
Let's let's see. Anthology short story, the Running Wild Press anthology for short stories. Number 7 is about 6 months out. Number 8 is about 18 months out. And for number 9, I will start going through those in June. My cutoff for the stories is from June 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2024. So if you got a story, get them in, because I'll start going through those this summer. And the only time that I go into like the ones that come in after May 31st is if we need to fill out the anthology with extra stories. So I'll reach out to the authors, but usually it's from June 1st to May 31st the next year. So you still got time, get them in.
Now, right now, in terms of our backlog of either new or in progress titles between Running Wild and Rise, there are currently around 217 titles. And so that's all only full length. So that's both nonfiction and fiction. So what I want you to think about is if there are 217 that we have, that means that 197 are going to get declined because we're only going to be accepting 10 per house for, and again, this is actually, keep this in mind. This is most likely going to be for 2026 because we already have such a large volume of stories for 2025. We may be able to pull some in for Rise, just because we have less acquired in under Rise, but um, like I said, just keep that in mind. And we will also do our best to make sure that, like, when we reject a piece, we'll tell you why, right? Like if there's a reason, or if it's just simply like we're already full, we'll tell you that as well. So then that way, if you want to resend it to us in a year or so, you're welcome to. And honestly, if I were you, I would use that as a tool for other houses. Like, let them know, hey, I had submitted this to Running Wild or Rise, and they loved it, and you know they said it falls under blah blah blah, and I thought you might be interested in this similar kind of story. So I would use that again, like I said, use it as a marketing tool for you to sell it elsewhere. Um, Brittany says, I actually took a whole seminar class about the Gilded Age, Caroline. We read a lot of Edith Wharton. I bet. Brittany says, thank you for the information about the timeline and all of the context. That makes sense. I have 3 stories in Anthology 8. I'm excited. Very cool. What's the number of manuscripts currently in production? Evangeline is a gem. Margaret asks. Wow, the number of stories that are in production right now. That is a great question. Hold on. I can answer that.
I only have 2.
Let's see. So for Running Wild, so remember 2024, we finished that out a while ago. So for 2025 for Running Wild, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. We have 26 that are in some form of production. Those that are in like the formal final stages production, meaning it's done being edited now, the cover's being done, and we're getting all the marketing materials together and all that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 of those are actually either in the can, meaning it's already got a production date, right, a publication date, or it's in the middle of that process of finalizing the cover and so forth. Now, same thing for 2025 for Rise. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. No, actually 9. 9 are either in production or already done, meaning it's ready for it's got the publication date's already been assigned and it's ready to go. So um like I said, we've been knocking it out. So very, very excited to get all these great stories out there. So Elizabeth says, I am also in number 8. TOC buddies. Absolutely. And guys, seriously, I mean, take the opportunity to submit as many short stories, to Ben's point, short stories and novellas as you can, because we are unusual in that we don't sit here and dictate what what the theme is going to be for the anthology or whatever. We're just looking for great stories. And then typically what we'll do is that we'll structure the anthology so that, you know, the stories complement one another, and that the way that it's formatted within the book itself, um, it it reads complementary. So like we've had cases where we've had novella anthologies where the novellas, they had nothing to do with nothing with each other, right? So the way that I structured it was, each novella had its own title page, and then it had its own like table of contents. So I almost treated each novella as if it was its own novel, but they were all in, so because each yeah, and then so that way the reader would get, it would feel like they finished one novel and then they finished another novel and they finished another novel, if that makes sense. um and honestly, we've had instances where we published novella anthologies that were in two books, because it each book was over 100, like 110,000 words, and you just can't, um it's difficult to effectively format in paperback a uh, a really long piece. Just in terms of the binding, that alone can just be challenging. So if it's more than, if it's closer to like 200,000 words, we typically will decide to make it into two books instead of just one. So I have no idea. There you go. I just blathered on for far too long, but we've got 3 minutes left, guys. Again, if you are watching this, it is not Thursday. Please feel free to go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We always, always, always check the chat, in between when we're live and when we're not, to see if you come back with any new questions. And then we do our best to answer those questions in the subsequent week. So I don't know, anything else, Ben, that you can think of that we may want to talk about?
Just those stories. That's where I am with choosing anthology number 9. There's still time to get it in. And actually, well, I haven't checked to see how many we have already, but I'll do that pretty soon, and I'll start going through them.
I can tell you. Do you
Okay.
want to? Well, I mean, I'm already in there, so like, may as well.
RWP Short Story Anthology 9.
Okay, so I'll do the RWP first, and then I'll tell you Rise. Does that work?
Yeah,
Okay.
because Rise is what, volume 2?
Oh, Rise should be on volume 3.
3. Okay.
Hmm.
Because I did volume 1 for Rise a couple of years ago. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so right now for Running Wild, between the new and in progress short stories, there are 87. And then,
That's good.
yeah, that's pretty good actually.
I've
And
got
then,
88 because an author sent it to me instead of submittable.
oh, okay.
Uh,
Yeah,
I've
guys, don't do that.
reprimanded her already, but I'll get it in
As
submittable for her.
as you should. Actually, Rise has a pretty decent number. There's 105 short stories.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is good. Because I
that's
remember
great.
Anthology 1 for Rise only had 13 stories in it.
Yeah, and we went to
And
our friends
yeah,
and we politely suggested that they submit.
that's good to see it took off.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that, wow, I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait to see what you come back with. So, and by the way, of all of our editors, my two favorite editors are Ben and Peter. So if you guys get assigned to, or you're lucky enough to have either one of them, then really feel privileged because they are two of the best literary editors that I know. So,
And
Would-
totally two different approaches, but that's good too.
oh yeah, very much so, very much so. So,
Yeah.
Caroline says, love seeing you both and everyone. Brittany, Margaret, Elizabeth. Caroline, as always, thrilled to see you as well. Cody is also brilliant. Agreed, Margaret. Totally agree. Which I absolutely adore Cody, who also has a completely different editing style. And on that note, I want to thank everybody. This has been an absolutely fantastic Run Wild with us. Thank you, Margaret, Elizabeth, Caroline, Rod, CJ, and I mean, gosh, Cree, Teha, you guys are all freaking killer. As always, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of our family. And looking forward to seeing you guys again next week. So, with that, have an amazing week. See you soon, guys.
Bye.